My first image of the United States came on November 11th, 1995. I was waiting in a parking lot beneath the lights of a magical place. My uncle said, "Here, you find anything." With his help, I pronounced my first real words in English. Gu, al, mart. Walmart. My aunt walked out of this place with a green blanket. She wrapped it around my shivering body. I had illegally crossed the border less than 2 hours before, and now I was warm. With a big smile on my face, I made it, I thought. When my mother registered me for the 3rd grade in January of '96, my ESL teacher had trouble with my name. She said, "Your name is too long. Let's call you Alex." My mother looked at the floor and said, "Okay." It wasn't until a couple years later when I knew enough English that I realized what had happened. Now, most of my family members do not call me by my birth name. That same year, I met Mrs. Parrott. She would not allow me to go to the bathroom until I pronounced my request correctly. Most of the time, I would piss myself. At that time, I did not know enough English to cuss her out. So instead, in high school, I would run by her house and spit on her nice lawn. I once pooped in her fruit tree farm as well. Los tacos. That's probably like a hamburger or something. I don't know. In 4th grade, an ESL assistant would kick my shins under the table every time I would mispronounce any words she was holding on the flashcard. Until this day, I do not find high heels to be attractive. In 6th grade, while in the back of the bus with 3 white kids, Malia Hadley, whom I had a crush on, asked me, "Alex, is it true that they call Mexican beaners?" I should have known from her smile that she did not want to broaden her knowledge. I remembered having beans the night before that I did not think about the implications of her question. "Yes," I said. Everybody laughed. I wanted to ask her if white people were called hamburger eaters, but it didn't sound quite as mean. I stopped sitting in the back of the bus. In 7th grade, my science teacher compared Mexico to trash. He is the reason why I dislike science. I also used to run by his house and spit on his lawn. There wasn't any good places to take a dump, so I didn't do it. I was gonna get caught. Anyway, in 8th grade, my friends and I jumped each other and started our own gang. We were afraid of what the following school year would hold. After all, that was the furthest any of our parents had gone to school. I guess punching each other was how we would show support and guidance. Later, some would drop out. Some would actually join gangs. Some joined the military, and we would not recognize them after their tour. Some would graduate. Very few would go on to college. In high school, I was one of 4 brown faces in AP classes, in a school that was 40% Mexican. I always felt weird when my teachers praised me for not being like the rest of them. What is this rest of that I am not? I left my guidance counselor jaw dropped when I told her I wanted to go to college. Instead of guiding me through the application process, she asked me to talk to incoming students and their families about my success story, about how I came from nothing to something. My grandmother's house in Mexico may not have had running water, electricity, flushing toilets, steak dinners, wood floors, a picket fence, but it was something. During this time, I also used the word gay when I meant to say stupid. By this time, women were seen as objects. I was a player with no game, and I laughed at rape jokes. By this time, I was really confused by the phrase, "pull yourself up by your bootstraps." Mexican boots do not have straps. Right, Bonnie? He's wearing boots. Go talk to that guy. In college, I indulged myself in race relation classes. It is amazing how many people that got it would ask me one of 2 things. Act more Mexican, act like Mexican. You cannot help liberate people if you constantly push them into boxes. By this time, I became very acquainted with Marcus Garvey's notion that we need not be afraid of the KKK and other white supremacy groups because their intentions are clear. It is the hypocritical white liberal people that are to be wary of because their intentions are not clear. 2009, I got my first job out of college. I was a community organizer. My boss told me to dress in nice clothes so that I would look professional when organizing with poor folks. The only time that a person dressed in nice clothes came to our neighborhood when growing up was to take someone away. I quit 2 weeks after my boss's comment. At this time, I also learned that people in positions of power that look like us does not mean they care about us. Like the professor of color who told me to take care of my white peers because they were the ones that were going to be successful. Like when a Denver City Council member of color urged me to stop using the word undocumented and instead use illegal. Like Obama deporting over 2.5 million immigrants in the last 4 years. I'm a green card holder now. I still have trouble pronouncing some English words. Sometimes my tongue wrestles with each other. It does not know which colonizer's language it prefers. I'm learning how not to be a walking contradiction. I ask my intuition for good judgment, but sometimes it feels like I am asking for too much. I am learning how to be resilient. I'm learning how not to become a body bag. I'm learning how to teach my students not to become body bags. I am learning how to live in a world where I am not wanted if my name is Alejandro, if my skin color is too dark, if my accent is too heavy, if my hands are not rough enough. When my aunt wrapped me in the warmth of the green blanket underneath the lights of the Walmart, I laughed, I smiled, and thought I had made it. But this country is a trickster, and I am learning how not to fall for its illusions.